Since 1999, when the Browns returned, there have been two moments in Cleveland Brown history where the Browns truly had an opportunity to bring back the old Browns-Steelers rivalry. The first was January 5th, 2003 in the AFC wildcard round at the time, new Heinz Field. And as we are all way too painfully aware of, a drop pass by Dennis Northcutt and a surging Pittsburgh team led by Tommy Maddox was able to put out those flames of the rivalry. The second was November 11th, 2007, and where at? Well, no other than Heinz Field again. The Browns, after being embarrassed by Pittsburgh in their home opener, losing 7-34, entered that Week 11 contest in Pittsburgh at a shocking 5-3, something nobody would have thought of after the Browns lost by multiple scores against Pittsburgh at home and traded their starting quarterback, Charlie Frye. And also coming into this game, the Browns had won 3 straight. Pittsburgh that year and at that time was 6-2. And in that game, despite the Browns jumping up to a comfortable 21-9 lead at halftime, Pittsburgh would battle back despite Josh Cribbs' best efforts to keep the Browns from losing that game, and the Browns lost by 3 points. So not only would the Browns not take first place that night in November, but that game ultimately decided the Browns' playoff fate that year as both teams, Pittsburgh and Cleveland, finished 10-6, but Pittsburgh got the nod in the division because, well, they beat Cleveland twice, and that was the tiebreaker. So again, another moment where the tide could have dramatically shifted for the Cleveland Browns. The Browns could have went into Pittsburgh, beat Pittsburgh, and ultimately cemented their chance of making the playoffs, which they hadn't done since 2002. And when they did make the playoffs, they ran into another buzzsaw in Pittsburgh that quashed their dreams despite another halftime lead. And that leads me to this week, October 18th, 2020. Because this is the third chance since 1999 that this rivalry has truly had an opportunity to be revived. It has all the common denominators. 2 good teams, Heinz Field. This is what it takes for this rivalry to come back. And it's not only going to take the Browns to win to make this rivalry come back, it's going to take the Browns to win in Heinz Field for this rivalry to come back. And that, for the third time since this franchise has come back in 1999, is what the Browns have the opportunity to do on October 18th, the year 2020. To Cleveland fans, we absolutely understand what this game means. For Pittsburgh, it's another question. It's a question of, can they quell yet another Browns revolution? Whenever the Browns have a chance of relevancy since 1999, it's always been Pittsburgh that has closed the gate of Heinz Field square in the face of all that hope and optimism for this fan base. It's always been the case. And for Cleveland, we know every single attempted revolution that this franchise has had to achieve absolutely anything has never marched into Heinz Field and walked out the same as they came in. This game always serves as a litmus test for what the Browns' future is going to be. Is this going to be an individual, isolated, good season, or is this going to be the start of a change of the guard in the division? This is what's on the line, at least for the fan base, on Sunday. Is this change to the status quo going to be permanent, or is it going to be another merely temporary aberration to a long line of failure? Is that what it's going to be? So to the fans and from an emotional standpoint, this game has astronomical implications. But if we look at it from a different perspective, this game has astronomical implications to a team you wouldn't necessarily think. What are those implications? How important are they? Well, let's talk about it. Real quick before I continue to talk about this game, if you're new here, please make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding that notification bell so you can be notified. A ton of people have joined since the start of this season, and they seem to be happy with what they're getting. So if you're new, please subscribe, ding that notification bell. I have a feeling that you won't be disappointed, so please make sure you do that. Now, I went over in the extended intro about why this game means so much to both fan bases and why it means a lot to Cleveland. But the weird part of this game is that if you don't look at this from an emotional standpoint, then the consequences of this game flip overwhelmingly in the direction of Pittsburgh, where this game actually is much more important as far as the paper situation goes for Pittsburgh than it is for Cleveland. Why is that the case? Why is it so important to Pittsburgh when they're 4-0 and they have a lot of losses that they can take, and the Browns are 4-1 and they have one less loss that they can take compared to Pittsburgh? Well, it comes down to what the rest of the schedule looks like. Because with this game in Pittsburgh, the Browns are actually going to be wrapping up what is going to be their toughest stretch of games in the entire schedule, which was at Dallas versus the Colts at home, and then the upcoming game against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, and you can even add the Cincinnati game at Cincinnati in there if you wanted to. Because even people who are optimistic like myself about this team and this team's future this year, I even thought the best case scenario for the Browns after 6 weeks of football would probably be around 3-3 or one game under 500. But the fact of the matter is that's not going to be the case. The Browns at worst are going to have a record of 4-2. The Browns at best could have a record of 5-1. The reason that's so important that the Browns got out of this stretch, not only with their head above water, but with the opportunity to be well above water, well above 500, is because after this game, the Browns play the following teams. At Cincy, a tough game. Division road games are never a layup. Joe Burrow is a good player still. I still believe in him, and I still think the Cincinnati team is going to finish around 6-10, 7-9. So not a layup by any means, but definitely a winnable game. Then the Browns play the Las Vegas Raiders, who aren't a layup. They just beat the Kansas City Chiefs, but they do play them at home. West Coast team flying in to Cleveland, playing on the road, playing on the East Coast. Also, Browns have been pretty good at home so far this year, so it's definitely a winnable game for the Browns. And then they have the Texans at home, they have the Eagles at home, and then they go to Jacksonville. All three of those games are very winnable for the Cleveland Browns. The odds are favorable that win or lose this week in Pittsburgh, the Browns will have a really strong record in December and have a really, really strong case for one of those wild card spots, at the very least at the start of December. And if they can beat Pittsburgh, then they might even have a claim to the division against Baltimore, which I didn't think would be possible this year. After week 7, after they play Cincinnati in Cincinnati, that's it for all of the road division games. And then you have all the rest of your division games at home. They're not easy division games. They're Pittsburgh and Baltimore, but I like your chances at home more than I like your chances on the road. The Steelers, on the other hand, are in a different situation. Yes, they are 4-0, but that 4-0 comes with a little bit of a caveat because they have already played the lightest part of their schedule. And look, that's not to discount the record or anything. I'm not playing that game on this video. That's not what's happening here. All I'm pointing out is that even your most biased Pittsburgh fan has to understand that the toughest part of the schedule is coming up, and it's coming up real fast because they play Cleveland, at Pittsburgh, they play at Tennessee, they play at Baltimore, and they play at Dallas. You know, think of what you want about Dallas, but Dallas at Dallas is not a gimme anytime. And then after that, they get a break. They get Cincy at home. They also get Jacksonville. But then they have another game against the Ravens, then Washington. But then you finish out the season with at Bills, at Cincy, the Colts, and Cleveland. Again, Cincy, not a layup, but a game they should win. But Colts and Cleveland, that's a tough way to end the season out, especially given that those two teams are probably going to be battling for the wild card at that point in the season. So it's not going to be a rest or gimme game for them at all. The Browns, while they do need to win this game to have hopes of winning the division, and while I personally don't think the division is going to be in reach this year by any team other than Baltimore, you can still have a chance to win it if you beat Pittsburgh here, and vice versa. Pittsburgh can still have a chance to win the division if they beat Cleveland here. But other than that, if you look at the bigger picture for Cleveland making the playoffs and making the wild card potentially, they have much more manageable stretches to do so than Pittsburgh does. And they also have the return of Nick Chubb to look forward to. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, have already played all their easy games, have already had their bye week early in the season, and now they're going to face that daunting stretch of games without any bye week, without any rest. And while they are 4-0 right now, they have 3 games on their schedule that they could lose. Like, it's not out the realm of possibility that they could lose, and it's all coming back to back to back. Again, Cleveland, at Baltimore, at Tennessee, all 3 games they could lose. They could end up, before you know it, 4-3. They need to win this game. But that's the long view of it. That's the long game. That's the spreadsheet, the analytical view of it. We all know here in Cleveland that this is more than just one game on a tough stretch for the Browns. This is a program-defining opportunity for Cleveland. It's Clemson and Deshaun Watson in 2017 beating Alabama to prove itself as another powerhouse to be reckoned with in college football. It's the type of game that can be a perception changer among the casual national media pundits and casual football fans of America. So to this Browns team and this fan base, this is a massive game. This is a massive opportunity. It's honestly about more than just the schedule or the wild card odds. It's about whether this team, this franchise, will redefine itself this year, much like Clemson did when they beat Alabama, or will this be like every single good Michigan team under Jim Harbaugh that has all that hype going into the game against Ohio State and then lays an egg and loses? Because that's what's at stake this week for the Cleveland Browns. That's the perception that will be there if they don't win this game against Pittsburgh. And that's my thoughts on the state of this rivalry, where things are at, and what does this game mean from that perspective? What does it mean from the perspective of this Browns-Steelers rivalry? But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And again, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.